Hey everybody, I am attorney Michael Eline, and I'm having a hard time getting my guest to show up right now. We're having a problem getting the email to work, but Paul Canton is supposed to be on today as my guest. I'm going to have to loosen up this chin strap. It's not working out. But as you can see, I'm dressed like a Roman legionnaire, and that's for a reason. So let me just say hi to everybody first. Hey, what's going on, Jeff? What's up, Let's OTVO? Yeah, this is my son's Legionnaire helmet. As you guys know, I try to teach my kids history, and I'm a big fan of the original Roman Republic. Republic, brava, victor, right? And I really appreciate the fact that in order to be a Roman citizen, it was something that was an amazing thing. To be a Roman citizen was like how people used to think about being an American citizen was like after World War II, where everybody wanted to come here legally. They wanted to become part of America. They didn't want to bring multiculturalism here. They wanted to become Americans. Now they come up here and they bring their religions with them and all their other stuff and want to cause a lot of trouble like they're doing over in Europe. But back in the old days, people came to Rome because they wanted to be Romans. And so the story that I'm going to share with you today is a story about a Marine brother, because all Marines are brothers. I've never met him before, but his name is Paul Canton. And originally, there's some conflicting information. One of the news stories I read said he's a New Zealander. Another one says he's from Australia. Either way, he's got that down under accent there, mate. And well, just real quick, I'm gonna let him know that I'm online. I'm calling him right now, guys. The spam folder. All right, mate. So I'm online. Whenever people can hear us talking right now, just so you know. But I'm online and I'm wearing my Roman centurion helmet because I'm going to get a little bit into the history of countries that allowed warriors to become citizens. That's how I'm starting off the show, mate. See you in a bit.
Okay, got it. So how do I get through all this?
All you got to do is click on that StreamYard link that I sent you, and that's going to let you into the green room. And once you're in, I'll have you on. If you're on your phone or you got a video, I'll introduce you to the audience.
Okay, video's up. Got it.
All right, mate. Cheers. Cheers. Yep. So you just heard Paul Canton. This is a Marine brother. And this is why I do this YouTube channel, guys. I mean, I know a lot of people, they think, oh, this guy, this lawyer, he's just trying to ride someone's coattails and make a bunch of money on YouTube. Well, first, I got to tell you, the hours and hours that I spent on YouTube, I could have made over $100,000 in fees in the last couple of months. But I don't do it because I'm trying to teach my kids entrepreneurialism, and I'm trying to teach other people the law so they can understand the law and mean to keep it well. So as you guys know, many of you, I am a honorably discharged United States Marine. I was injured during MCT because back in '89, Marine infantrymen had to go to MCT as well as SOI, and went through SOI on crutches. And I have Paul in the green room joining me. But before I go any further, I want to introduce you to Paul, but just so Paul knows. Hey, Paul, good seeing you, mate.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
All right. You like my helmet?
Yeah, it looks like you could clean a ceiling fan with that too.
So we're going to get into it really quick because I want my audience to know a little bit about who you are. But the first thing I want to do then is just show them this really cool video of yours. But just everybody, really quick. So you were a corporal or a sergeant in the Marine Corps?
Corporal.
Okay, so you made it to corporal, out freaking standing. So by the way, guys, becoming a corporal in the Marine Corps is a pretty big deal. Corporals do this stuff that like sergeants and staff sergeants, sergeant first class dudes do in the Army. In the Marine Corps, it's a totally different animal. But I want to introduce you guys to my buddy right now by letting you watch his video.
I'm Katie LaGrone. This week, we're celebrating what it means to be an American. But for the past month, I've exposed how some Floridians are facing little-known barriers to becoming legal U.S. citizens. Recently, I spent some time with one veteran who told me he joined the U.S. military under the promise of citizenship. But what he got instead were broken promises.
Bye, Boo.
Paul Canton is headed to work near his home in Ocala. On this day, a neighbor gives him a ride.
I have somebody who gives me a ride to work, and then I get a ride home. Once I get a ride home, here I am.
It's not that Canton doesn't know how to drive. It's that he's not legally allowed to. He can't get a driver's license or even an ID card.
I kind of feel like I'm under house arrest. I can't go anywhere, do anything. There's a lot of restrictions with no identification. Can't even go cash a check.
That's because Canton isn't a legal U.S. citizen, never has been, even though he spent the last 30 years living like one.
These are some of the awards that I was given while I was in the military.
It all started when Canton, who was born in New Zealand and raised in Australia, says he was recruited to join the U.S. military. That's right, Canton isn't American, but he's got all the goods to show he served as an American soldier in the U.S. Marines. Which is how he explains his citizenship crisis began.
I was told.
Well, hold on a minute, guys. I just got to correct something really quick. So that civilian said soldier. I wanted to correct it before Paul does, because Marines aren't soldiers. We're freaking Marines. And don't you forget it.
If I got an honorable discharge, then I would get citizenship at the end of my tour.
Automatically? And then what happened?
I got out, assumed I had citizenship. I voted. I did everything a citizen would do.
He got married here, raised his kids, paid his taxes, even voted in U.S. elections, until a trip to his local DMV to renew his driver license a few years ago, quite literally,
Kind of shock.
stopped him in his American tracks.
I figured somehow somebody had, forgot to push a button or do something. I didn't think it was going to be anything, here's my paperwork, here's my military service, and it was going to be done.
It wasn't. And 5 years later, still isn't.
It seems like every time we go back and try and deal with this, just another door closed.
According to federal immigration law, foreigners who serve in the
Hey, mate, someone in my audience here is trying to say that you're Benny Hill. So if you look, Paul, up in the upper right, there's a box that says comments. And right now you're probably not seeing all the live comments, but if you click the comments box, you can interact with the audience on the right there. So just mess around with it so you can get, this is your first time using StreamYard, I would imagine. So just mess around with it a little bit.
The U.S. military are eligible for citizenship if they served during a period of hostility. Canton enlisted during the Gulf War in the early 90s, but he didn't become active duty for another 7 months after that period of hostility ended, which, according to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration, made all the difference on his path to calling America home.
He served our country. This is not fair.
Elizabeth Ricci is Canton's immigration attorney, working pro bono to help him solve what she said.
So I spoke with your lawyer today. Everybody, Elizabeth Ricci, amazing attorney, very, very based, great woman. I definitely want all of you to, check out her website. And if you ever have a problem with immigration issues, definitely want you to reach out to her. I was very impressed by her. The fact that she took my call tells me a lot.
As is a common practice by America's government.
They are told by recruiters, who, by the way, get a bonus for the number of recruits they sign up. We'll take care of it. We'll get your citizenship. Don't worry about it.
Ricci and Canton are now taking his case to federal court. But the notion of America recruiting foreigners into its military under false promises isn't new.
Unfortunately, it is not new. It has been going on for many years.
Rose Carmen Goldberg is director of the Veterans Law Practicum at UC Berkeley School of Law. Earlier this year, the group released this report detailing America's long history of recruiting immigrants to serve our country only to abandon them after service. The report, titled Broken Promises.
This problem is so big that the federal government itself doesn't even know the scope of the problem.
In terms of the numbers of people, is there any way to quantify that?
Rough estimates are hundreds or thousands. No one knows.
In an email, a spokesperson from the Department of Defense said it does not sanction bringing immigrants into the U.S. military under false promises of obtaining citizenship, but goes on to state while non-citizens who enlist under the law are qualified for expedited naturalization, Those pursuits are between the individual and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Paul Canton doesn't know what his future in America holds. After he joined America's military, he lost his citizenship in Australia, leaving the father of two and recent widow
She's still here because we buried her. I've got no way to go visit with her.
essentially stateless and pleading for America to give what he says.
And so, just really quick, I just want to share something with you guys. And Paul's probably going to tell us, but from my understanding is the stress of this, and I believe Paul has a special needs son as well. The stress of this brought his wife to an early demise. I'm not 100% sure. Paul's going to share this with us later, but I am absolutely like as I watch this, I have butterflies in my stomach. I'm just so angry and upset. And I'm showing this to my audience because I'm expecting you guys to help me support him and his family through this problem.
It promised when he stepped up to fight and defend her.
Why are you fighting this so hard?
I've got nowhere else to go.
U.S. Citizenship and Immigration not commenting on Paul's case, telling us they don't discuss individual cases. But a spokesperson says they recognize the sacrifice of veterans and are committed to properly adjudicating applications. Canton is still waiting for his first hearing in federal court. I'm Katie Lagrone reporting.
Right. And so I know that there is I know, Paul, that there is, we have a more current version. By the way, you probably should position your grape a little. There you go. Got your freaking grape there, you. Oh! So anyways, guys, before I kick it off and do the question and answer session with Paul, I want to do my regular introductions. So go ahead and kick off the show real quick. To another edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. All right. So Paul, really quick, I'm just going to share a foundation with my audience so they can understand the history of serving for foreign militaries to gain citizenship. And I believe that this tradition started with the Roman legions, and then it carried on definitely with the French Foreign Legion. And a friend of mine who was a Navy SEAL who got himself into a little bit of trouble ended up joining the French Foreign Legion. So this is going to give me an opportunity to share a clip about him joining the Legion and the hell that he went through. But I also want my audience, because my audience really doesn't have the same sort of legal and educational background as me. So I just want to share with them really quick this video that I found about the French Foreign Legionnaires and about how you could become I'm not the French Foreign Legion, the Roman Legionnaires, and how you could become a citizen by serving in the Roman legions. And just to give people kind of a historical basis so they understand what's going on. Here we go.
Serving one's country in the armed forces was another way to gain Roman citizenship. If you enlist in the Roman legions, serve honorably, and meet certain requirements, the Roman government may grant you citizenship as a reward for your diligence and valor. This strategy not only strengthened the Roman armed forces, but also increased the number of Roman citizens. Now that we have that out of the way, let's discuss the significance of marriage in establishing citizenship.
Okay, so you guys kind of saw that. And then that same tradition was carried on by the French Foreign Legion. And so one of the cool things about serving in the military in France, or for example, Spider-Man, the guy who climbed up the balcony to rescue the little kid in France, the black dude, they call him Spider-Man. The president of France just outright is going to make him a citizen of France. And it's a big deal to become a citizen of your host country. So in the French Foreign Legion, you could come from a war-torn country like Ukraine or the Germans after World War II. A lot of SS guys ended up in the Legion, and they got a second chance at life. And if they served and they bled and sweated hard, even if they didn't serve in combat, they got to become citizens. And so my buddy Taylor Kavanaugh, he had that opportunity when he screwed up a bunch of times as a Navy SEAL, and he went over to try to square himself away and become a foreign legionnaire. I'm just going to show this to you so you can kind of get an idea. It works both ways.
It's just like, here you go. They go, this is you. And it just said Trent Clayson, born on September 11th, 1985. In the computer systems, they take your date of birth, your day of birth, and they add a month and a day. I was born on August 10th. So that puts me on September 11th. And it was just by chance in the computer, my birth city was New York City.
What can you maybe explain what the French Legionnaire? We kind of just skipped over that for viewers that might not understand. Like, what is it actually, and like kind of the extent it's.
Yeah, it's a unit in the French military that is comprised of almost all only foreigners. It's about 200 years old, almost. Started by an old king to get foreigners who were kind of causing some trouble in his kingdom, in the kingdom of France, right?
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, mate.
Yep.
That sounds just like Chesty Puller in the Marine Corps. You wanted a beer machine and a hooker for every barracks, for every squad bay. Anyways, we're done with all that. So, guys, this is Paul Canton, and Paul, I just want to tell you my condolences for the loss of your wife. I know that's absolutely devastating. I couldn't even imagine having to suffer that. So, my heart goes out to you, brother. And if there's anything that my family or I can do for you, we're here for you 1,000%.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm really sorry that went down. So, guys, I spoke to his attorney today, and I do have permission to share some things with you. So I don't know if you guys all remember this, but there was this big fact check thing about, did Bill Clinton make it possible for illegal aliens to become citizens if they voted illegally? And yes, he did. But of course, the fact checkers, because they're far left, said that that's not true. But he actually did. And basically what it was is but it was only for dreamers. So if a dreamer was to vote in a U.S. election, they could be excused, I guess, because they were minors. Maybe they didn't understand. But in your case, because Paul, I don't want to get this wrong. You came to the U.S., you were on a visa, you were a young man. I guess you overstayed. And then the Marines recruited you into the Marine Corps. Is that a fair statement or?
Close. I came over when I was 17, and because the difficulty trying to get my paperwork from Australia and New Zealand.
Yep.
I mean, it took me, I think, 3.5 months just to get the paperwork shipped over to get into the Marine Corps. So I think that's where the overlap came in.
So just really quick, I don't know if you can see all the comments in the sidebar, Paul. Yet you see people talking and messing around. Like Ralph Riley says he's got a workaround. There's a button up there you can click that says comments. You can kind of switch back and forth, and it'll show you the people talking. I just want you to be able to see the comments, people pouring out their blessings and comments. So you kind of see, like, Ralph Riley just donated $5 to the show. Obviously, if you had a GoFundMe account, I would have him donate that to you. But he's saying he's got a workaround for you. If you don't see the comments, that's fine. I'll tell you what they're saying. But if you mess around with your mouse on the far right there should be a little button in the upper right that says something like comments or something like that. If you click on that, that should show you people talking.
Okay, I see everybody commenting.
Oh, terrific. Okay, so Ralph Riley, I believe Ralph's also a veteran. He says he's got a workaround. We can talk about that later. I just want to get into the show, but thank you, Ralph, for the donation, brother. I really appreciate that. And that BZ Watchdog, he's a Force Reconnaissance Marine, and he said he was going to come in here and screw around with you, but since he heard about your wife passing away, comedy is hereby withdrawn. So I just want you to kind of understand. And then, yeah, you didn't want to be a Royal Marine, right? Okay, fine, whatever. So I just wanted you to be able to see what's going on. So basically, to clarify, you came here at 17, you were a minor, and you ultimately, because of a paperwork problem, getting your paperwork from Australia, that caused you to overstay your visa. Now, one thing I can say about Australia, so I'll share something with you. When I got out of the Marine Corps and I managed an LA Fitness in Anaheim Hills, and I ended up falling in love with this aerobics instructor. And in order to get over her, I ended up, another aerobics instructor from Total Roll Arena Fitness in Australia said, "Hey, why don't you come over to Australia? You'll meet a bunch of Sheelers and you'll get over your gal." So I was like, great. So how do I do that? So I did all this research and I figured, okay, the best way to do it is to leave from Great Britain. So I traveled to Scotland. I lived in Scotland for like 6 months, went to Australia House, and I tried to get a visa to go over to Australia. They wouldn't give it to me because you're going there to work, mate. You're going there to run a health club. So they wouldn't give me the paperwork, but that was like a 6-month process. So I can understand Australia is a freaking administrative nightmare, man. I mean, is that a fair statement, Paul?
Well, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So, Ralph Riley says he was not a veteran and never served, but I'm just telling you, he's a patriot. So we definitely need to get you a YouTube channel, mate. But so I just want to share with you guys. So Paul did 4 years in the Marine Corps. He made corporal. He got an honorable discharge. And I guess his biggest mistake is that he was told by his recruiter that once he served his tour that he was going to be a U.S. citizen. And so what does he do? Like every American, like my wife did, as soon as she got her citizenship, you run down to the voting booth because you're American. You want to vote, man. This guy just was willing to die for all you guys. Right now we've got 20 million illegals just flooded across the country from Roman civil law democracies. Many of them were released from prisons by countries that hate us. And they're immediately getting free phones, free hotels, free everything, even your Social Security that your children are going to have to pay for. And this dude was willing to spill his freaking guts and die for his country. And his only crime is that he voted because he thought he was a U.S. citizen because he was told by the U.S. Marines that he was. And so is that a fair statement, Paul? I mean, am I missing something?
It is, but after 1 year, it was taken off the record. So that's where we ran into the other problems.
Well, tell us, share that with us a little bit if you're allowed to.
In order to prove that I had enlisted during a declared time of hostility, I still had my enlistment papers. And so we presented the enlistment papers to the immigration, but immigration said they were not real enlistment papers.
Oh, okay. And what was their basis for saying that, Paul?
Their reasoning was that if they were real enlistment papers, part of the reasons anyway, but when I signed the paperwork, I should have been immediately assigned a home unit and been out on drills and maneuvers. No training.
Yeah, but that's not reality. I mean, if you join during the time of hostilities, that should be enough.
That is, but they're saying that because I didn't have a home unit, then I couldn't qualify.
That's ridiculous.
So,
okay, so what ended up happening then?
They kept up with, saying, well, you didn't have a home unit, which is the classification of basically active duty. And there's a split in the law. It's either active duty or select Marine Corps Reserve. And because this was my first time serving in the military, I needed to be trained. So I went under the classification of initial active duty for training, which is a part of the select Marine Corps Reserves.
Oh.
Which qualifies for citizenship.
What was your MOS, Paul?
2111, small arms repair.
Okay, cool. Like in the armory?
Yeah. Funny little fact. From start to finish boot camp to the end of my MOS school took longer than the Gulf War.
Wow. I believe that, man. I had to go to MCT, even though I was an 0311 designee. And, in 89, they made all the dudes like me go to MCT. We hated it, man. We're like, why am I doing this? Yeah, an extra 3 months or whatever for what? Or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So basically they're trying to tell you, well, since you were like in this little slot, even though you were told that you were good to go, you're really not. Is that kind of what they were doing?
It's mostly smoke and mirrors, the way I look at it. I mean, you look at the Marine Corps organizational chart, and right at the bottom of the Select Marine Corps Reserve, there's initial active duty for training. And that's where I was when I signed the paperwork. And for them to say, you know, once you signed the paperwork, you instantly became a full-fledged Marine, able to show up to a base, you know.
Yeah.
Go to your home unit, get military-grade arms, ammunition, explosives with a signature.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we do when we check in? We go down to the armory, we sign out, you know, we get our weapon, and
run over to Burger King. I'm just kidding.
That's when you come back from overseas. Real food.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. So basically they sort of found like the ultimate way to screw you. It's what it sounds like to me, just to make sure they don't have to honor their promise.
Yeah, that a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I think it was like 3 or 4 pages worth of different wording and stuff, and that's what it boiled down to, is they'll only take one side of the coin and not the other. Several years ago, they came out with a memo on November 12th, which was agency-wide, clarifying, you know, the meaning of Select Marine Corps Reserve. And unfortunately, Orlando once again decided, no, we're not going to do it. So it kind of, on the big picture, makes you wonder how many veterans who've served get denied citizenship because they don't recognize the paperwork or they won't honor it.
And they're the only people in my mind who deserve to go to the front of the line. Everybody else should stand in line, take a test, learn about what it is to be an American. But serving in the Marine Corps, the history lesson they teach you in boot camp, that you're more educated than 99% of the U.S. population, brother.
Yep. And I just
1,000%. Go ahead.
With, you know, yet again, we go back to all the people that they, you know, who knows how many they've denied, but without Elizabeth being pro bono, there's no way I could afford her. I mean, this fight would have been over a long time ago.
Yeah, and I offered to raise money for her, and she refused to accept it. So I'm extending the offer again to you. If you have a GoFundMe or something, my audience, I know for a fact that I'll be able to raise at least a couple of grand for you and your son, for sure. I just need a GoFundMe account, mate. Just get it to me, and I'll take care of it.
Okay, well, I'll look at that, sir. I mean, it's a little.
I just want to take care. Look, I feel obligated to look after you. You're a Marine brother, and you're getting fucked by my government. And I don't have much love lost between my government. I'm a lawyer, and I know how bad they've been screwing us, especially people who are conservative minded and people who love their country. They're coming after us. The flag burners are in charge right now, mate. And I'm not happy about it. And I'm going to do whatever I have to do to take care of you and your son. And I've got people here on my channel who will also help you.
We're not living high on the hog, but we're making it by. And we've got veterans living on the street and much worse off than I am. So
I understand that.
I don't feel like, I've earned that kind of gift.
I understand that. It's not a gift, though. It's just what Marines do. We take care of each other. We're family. That's what separates us from all the other branches. Is Marine Corps truly is a band of brothers. And so don't look at it like it's a gift or anything. It's just you made the right choice. You joined the right branch. And my buddy Howard's also going to be reaching out to you. He is a Navy SEAL. He was also a combat corpsman, and he's the vice president of the Leathernecks Motorcycle Club down in Houston. And we're going to try to figure out a way to do some fundraisers for you and stuff. And look, this is actually a good thing in a way, because it gives us, my people, my channel, and patriots an opportunity to have something to fight for. We see our country being invaded by people who don't belong here, and they're getting free everything. And then we see a guy like you, you lost your woman. You've been through holy hell because you were promised citizenship from your own country that you served. As far as I'm concerned, you're an American, And I think that everybody in the sidebar, give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree that he's more American than the 20 million illegals that just snuck across and got everything for free out of your paycheck. And so that's the kind of stuff that makes me angry. That's what's making us fight, Paul. So, Paul, I understand that you've got a pro bono lawyer, and Elizabeth Ritchie, and I want all you guys. Thanks for all the ones in the sidebar, by the way, guys. Thanks, Mama Lion. Mama Lion says it's so insane. I've seen so many veterans just let down by us all, and it's true. It's like, look, the current government doesn't like vets because vets don't generally vote blue. Let's face it. So they don't want anything to do with vets, and vets support the Second Amendment, and the current government hates the Second Amendment. They don't want you to be able to defend yourself against the 20 million people they just flooded the country with. Come on. So look, I may get a little too political for you, Paul, but I'm really angry about this. You know, my father just died from Agent Orange because we were lied to about the Gulf of Tonkin, which is what got us into the Vietnam conflict. And I probably have residuals from that, you know, because it's toxin and it probably goes into your DNA. So I don't know how much longer I have. And that's why I'm fighting for you, Paul, because I want to leave something. I want to leave a legacy for my kids that they remember that their father was a freedom fighter. And I want everybody on this planet to remember that Mike Eline wasn't just a lawyer who made like a bunch of money or whatever, but he was a freedom fighter, and he fought for the common man, and he fought for the republic. And so that's why I'm here. So Paul, do you have a GoFundMe or any kind of anything?
No, I don't. I'm not very technically savvy. That's why I'm not even typing.
Understood. And my understanding is you're not even eligible to get a bank account, right? Because you're not an illegal alien that snuck across. So you're not entitled to like a SNAP card and all these things, right?
You need a photo ID to open an account.
And you're not able to do that.
No.
So if we were to raise money for you, how would can your son open an account?
I'm not sure if that's legal. Is that for him to receive it for me without me having a status?
You know, I'm not really sure if he's receiving it for him in order to look after his father and his status. Because if he loses you, he's going to lose his care provider. I think that it might be legal. I'll talk about it with Elizabeth first. But I think that we need to come up with a way to be able to look after you and your son. I think this is absurd that you're not able to even receive money. Guys, look at this. Look in the side, guys, everybody in the sidebar, I want you to look at this guy. I know some of you guys joked around that he looks like Benny Hill or whatever, and I get it. But this guy served in the United States Marine Corps, which is our version of the French Foreign Legion. The Marine Corps eats their own. It is the toughest branch to make it in. You usually hate it for at least 20 years when you get out. And then it's all you love after you hit that mark, because it's this love-hate relationship. I'm sure, Paul, you know what I'm talking about. It's just one of those things, man. There's nothing cooler than being a Marine, but it's kind of hard to savor when you're faced with deportation and you see all these other people just flooding across the border, getting free everything. And here you are trying to support your son and trying to survive. And man, I'm just really blown away that this is going down. So let me understand something. Right now, you can't open a bank account. You're not able to drive a car. How do you get around?
Ask friends for rides. And then you got Uber and Lyft. And that's about the only transportation I have. And the rest of the time I sit at home.
You're in Florida, right? What part of Florida are you in?
Ocala.
Anybody in my audience live near Ocala, Florida? Oh, by the way, what's the matter? You says this is the best chat ever. That's cool. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, look, I know. So Paul, so my audience, they do a lot of cop watcher videos, where people film the police and they catch them like planting drugs on people, or, that's the kind of thing, or they've been falsely arrested. And so I do civil rights law. I do a lot of catastrophic injury cases, but being a Marine, and man, when I saw you in my stream this morning at like 03, I was on a call with your lawyer at like 04 my time. this is the kind of shit that I live for. So just know you just thank the Lord that you got into my stream, because I'm not going to let go of this one, buddy. I'm really upset, bro. This is not right. I'm absolutely furious. And I saw that you've been on like Ollie North, and you've been on a lot of news stations. Have any of those people been able to help you at all? Has anybody offered any kind of support? I mean, is there anybody helping you?
I got a call from a congressman today, but seems like the same thing. I mean, it's what we need to do is just get this case into court, and it's open and shut. I mean, when you're down at the immigration office and the person interviewing you tells you, well, ultimately it's up to me and I choose no.
Yes. So here's what I understand, guys. So hear me out. Marco Rubio's not helping. None of the Republicans in Florida want to help for whatever reason. I'm guessing probably your lawyer is a Democrat, so they don't want to help. So I just want you to understand something. I don't care what your political party is, brother. I'm a libertarian. I care about America, and I care about my Marines. And I just want everybody in the sidebar to know, if you have Marco Rubio's phone number or his fax number, you should probably start reaching out to Marco Rubio to ask him to support what's called a special bill. So because he voted, this is the big problem, and you can correct me if I'm off base, Paul, but because you voted, they're trying to say that that's like illegal, and that deprives you of the ability to be able to seek citizenship. Is that a fair statement? Or
that lasted for 1 year, and after a year that was then removed.
That penalty was gone. Okay. Now, either way, she's saying that irrespective of court, we need to get a congressman, a senator actually, to help us promote what's called a special bill. And what this special bill would do is it would put us in a situation where other veterans who have a similar situation as you, and by the way, my wife's from a foreign country and I understand English as a second language. And even though you speak Australian English, there are nuances that are just different. So I get it. And so because of that, like I wouldn't understand what a shadow was if I went to Australia and didn't know. I'd be like, what the hell did the guy just say? It took me a couple months to understand Glaswegian, and Scotland, mate, is crazy, man. So this special bill would put us in a position to where he would be able to stay, and the thousands of other veterans that this happens to. And so that's what I'm asking my sidebar to do, because it doesn't require you to be in the constituency. The special bill does not require you to be a constituent. So just because the bill is going to be helping Paul in Florida, you could be Mike Eline in California and reach out to your congressmen and senators, and they can help you sponsor that special bill. But basically, my understanding, Paul, and again, you can jump in anytime, is that a special bill is going to be like the silver bullet. The only other way would be a presidential pardon or some kind of court intervention. Now, I did some research, Paul, to see what about a retroactive commanding general's waiver, right? I'm thinking, well, can't the CG just handle this? But no, because it's an immigration issue, the CG can't do it. So I was throwing everything at Elizabeth that I could think of. And man, I got to tell you, man, she knows her stuff, brother. She already nailed everything. And I'm not an immigration attorney. I do catastrophic injury cases. So I knew right away that you have an amazing lawyer, bro. Like, wow, you are so blessed to have her. So I'm going to do whatever I can to support her firm and help her. But guys, don't send her any more pro bono work. I got to tell you guys something. Pro bono work, it'll bankrupt the best lawyers. And the problem is a lot of us are philanthropists. And so don't do that. So Paul, I will talk to Elizabeth a little bit about a fundraiser, but I do believe that if your son, and I'm not giving you legal advice, I'm not licensed to practice law in Florida, but I do believe if your son set up a GoFundMe account for himself and he wanted to use that money to help the family, I don't see how that would be a problem. Now, obviously, I can't receive money on your behalf. I wouldn't want to do that because it would have the appearance of impropriety. But I do believe that I have the right as an American citizen to support a Marine brother. And I'm definitely going to keep doing that, even if they tell me it is illegal, because I don't care. Because they crossed the line when they told you that you couldn't remain in this country. And because of that, now you've got me and you've got my audience on your team. So is there anything else that you can tell us about, like, what's going on? Like, have they set this for a hearing? Are they trying to deport you? What's going on, Paul?
I'm just in limbo at the moment. I'm waiting for a court date, and I think we're coming up on the second year without a court date. I mean, it's I don't understand it, because to me it's black and white, and like I've explained to you, and it took all of 3 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah.
Even when you read the Marine Corps manuals, it says when you sign your paperwork, your initial active duty for training.
Yeah. Yeah. And to get insurance, a military veterans nonprofit, like, what do they call that? What's that military veterans? USAA. Anyway, USAA, something like that. Like, you can only get it if you were like active duty or like in time of conflict or whatever. But dude, America has been in active conflict ever since we were born. I mean, I can't think of a period when we haven't been. And Jack Lucas, he lied about, he's an American hero. He ended up getting you might not know who he is, but Jack Lucas went to Okinawa and fell in a grenade for his Marine brothers. He lied. I guess he was 16. He lied to get in, and he still got his Medal of Honor. He served in the Marine Corps all of about maybe 8 weeks, because back then they weren't doing the full boot. They were just shipping guys out. So this dude gets a Medal of Honor, does less training than you, and you're told, well, you didn't serve in a active conflict, but then they backpedaled on that too, didn't they?
Well, there's just the wording that I wasn't active duty, and to sum it up again, that I didn't have a home unit. I didn't attend drill or maneuvers. And it's like, but you can only do that after training.
That's
the
right.
The problem with this whole denial process is you do the interview, they write something up, say denied, and here's why we feel so. But there's nobody to actually talk to about it. There's no way to question it and say, okay, but you're wrong here, here, and here.
Yeah.
It's somebody's opinion, and they just put it out there.
So. I'm just like so shocked right now. I mean, I just can't even believe this. So the bottom line is, even if somebody wanted to send you a check right now, you'd have no way to cash it.
No.
I mean, this is just making me sick. I'm totally in shock. I can't even believe this. So the only way that anybody is going to be able to help you is if they bring you a stack of cash. Well, maybe that's what we'll have to do. So everybody in the sidebar, I want you to get back in touch with me and talk about how we can try to find a way to help out Paul and his son. I'm in touch with your lawyer. I'll talk to her also about it. Maybe we set up a trust or something for your son. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. We'll make it legal, mate. But this is like a missing link. I just can't believe that no one has reached out. I can't believe that you were interviewed by Ollie North and you don't already have like 1 million retired generals and officers trying to move you into their guest house. That's what I really don't understand. I'm pissed.
Shortly after the Oliver North interview, that's when they came down with the November 12th memo.
Okay.
But local office didn't want to follow that. So
that's just crazy. So what is that? What is the effect of that? I explain to the audience what that means to you and your son.
I think the hardest thing, a lot of hard things. One of them was, in the beginning, I started to believe what they were telling me, and I felt like I didn't earn the title.
Wow. So it's psychologically affected you. Are you not entitled to VA benefits either now because of this?
I have VA benefits, but my card is about ready to die, so it's about ready to time out, my VA card.
And once that happens, what's going to happen?
No more medical.
You got to be shitting me. Are you service connected?
Say again?
Service connected disabled or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Little
Well, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I got a little addiction to crayons and licking windows.
Yeah. You got to keep them away. Got to keep the crayons away. Yeah, crayon away will keep the commanding general away. So did you ended up getting deployed, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about your time in the Marine Corps.
Once I got out of MOS school for small arms, I went to Okinawa, Japan, and I spent 13 months over there. We were on ACF, a contingency flight. So that I was with 3rd Division 12th Marines, which meant you were the first ones to go.
Yeah.
So you pretty much had the sea bag packed the whole time.
Yep.
Go out and buy a second set of everything, throw it in a sea bag, and when they wake you up at 4 a.m. in the morning, you grab that and let's go. And
So
I came back. I came back stateside and I did the end of my tour with the embassy guards.
So you were security forces or?
No, just the embassy. I worked at the embassy guard, with State Department at the Quantico. So I was just with the home unit.
That's
helping out with the training, taking care of the weapons.
That's awesome. That must have been an amazing experience for you.
Oh, it was. The toys the State Department has.
I'll bet, mate. Oh man, yeah. So you were responsible for small arms, machine guns, all that stuff, right?
Yes.
Oh, that must have been a blast, literally. That is really cool.
Yeah, the State Department runs the Uzi 9.
Oh, right. So you got a chance to bust off a couple of magazines of Uzi.
Mm-hmm. Nice little toy.
I'll bet. I thought they were using like the MP5. I thought that was the big deal, like the Navy SEAL gun,
The MP5 was designed by the Germans.
Yeah.
As a anti-terrorist gun. The barrel's only good for about 1,000 rounds. So it's
no kidding.
Yeah. Oh, it's a flimsy. You can crush it with your fingers. It's meant to be a disposable weapon. Whereas the Uzi, you can sit there and beat on it all day long and it runs fine.
And the other problem with the German guns is sometimes they'll ask you stupid questions like,
"Where are your papers, Mav? Where are they?" Oh, you don't have any papers? Do the concentration camp with you.
Sorry, that's a little. I know you're new to my show, but I always like to do that one for my guests because they love it. So you can probably tell that I'm just as crazy as every other Marine you've ever met.
Well, if you had, what was that with the Mel Brooks? We don't need no stinking badges.
Or farging ice hole. Johnny Dangerously.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I am just so blown away at what's happened to you, Paul. So you got stationed over in Okinawa. You end up working with the Marine Security Forces, handling their weapons. You ultimately get to mess around with some of those 9mm Uzis. And we even got to talk a little bit about the Ingram. And so it looks like the Ingram is just like some stamped piece of junk that's you're only going to be able to fire off. Well, how many rounds do you think they're good for, the Ingrams?
I thought it was 1,000 on them.
Oh shit, that's nothing, man. And that Uzi is going to last you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, have you ever fired one?
Yeah. Oh man, I like them. I'm not going to lie. I really like the Uzis.
I mean, such a heavy bolt. It's got next to no recoil.
Yeah. Yep. It reminds me of the, so one of my buddies was a Marine and he also is in Hollywood and the MP40 and he let me fire an MP40, a real one. Dude, there is no recoil. It's almost like, it felt like an Uzi. And I was thinking, you know what? Those Israelis probably just copied the MP40. Is the action similar? Do you even know?
I don't know. The Uzi's an old weapon. Now, they used to have an Uzi 45, but they stopped making that because of the recoil.
Yeah. But the MP40, which I think was a German 9mm round built in 1940, I mean, man, you could just like zero recoil at all. And when I fired the Uzi, it felt almost the same girth and feel too, like the balance. Man, it's an amazing gun. So you got to mess around. It's funny. Here I am talking to a Marine, and I'm supposed to be rescuing him, and we're talking about guns. So that that tells you everything you need to know about Marines, guys. We're pretty focused on one thing, and that's firearms. But yeah, so Rooster Cogburn says, I'm glad we're not all speaking German. The way it's going in 2024 is way better. Let's hope so, guys. Let's hope that the government stops asking you for your papers and starts giving you some papers, man. What the heck is that all about? So is there anything that, besides trying to figure out a way to get you some money, that we can do to try to help you? And obviously, rallying and lobbying our congressmen and senators. Is there anything in particular you would like us to tell our congressmen and senators? Is there anything in particular, any links or websites or anything at all that you want my audience to check out?
There was a bill put in HR 1182, and that's moving forward. But I think ultimately, for this whole mess to be cleared up, the military just needs to take over the immigration needs of its members.
That makes sense. Well, why not just do a commanding general's waiver? I mean, that seems to be the French Foreign Legion does it every day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, when it comes down to, okay, if you get a war bride and she has children, it's easier if your own base, your own unit who knows everything about everything right there, because their boots on the ground, takes care of it.
That makes sense.
And it's a simple solution that, doesn't need a whole bunch of anything.
Yeah. So in the sidebar, I always like to address the audience. Jeff says, no doubt the government needs to be changed. Well, that's for sure, buddy. I mean, the fiat currency thing needs to be changed too. The only people who are making money are bankers in the pharmaceutical industry. Now, Kurt Bronson says, I feel ashamed something like this would happen to any Marine. Hey, how do you think I feel, dude? I mean, Kurt, he's here with us. So, let's help him out. And then Jeff says, I can't get more than an American than that. All you need is apple pie. I guess that's when we were talking about like Uzis and Ingrams and stuff, talking about guns. Yeah. Yeah, and then what's the matter? You says the real MP40s are great weapons. I know. I actually got to fire a real MP40 as well as an MG42. The Ripsaw. You ever fired one of those, Paul?
No.
Oh, dude. Oh, man. It's beautiful. Even though it's stamped, I'll take that over a saw any day of the week. I mean, the MG42 is just amazing. And I also have a MG38 that I have that's just, it's been stripped down. It's demilitarized. But hey, man, someday if we're buddies, maybe we can rebuild it. Next time I see you, I used to build AKMS's clones in my garage. I have all the Warsaw packed AKs with original barrels and everything. Always nice to talk to an armorer type. So what's the matter? You says that they had a Mac 11. I don't know what a Mac 11 is. What is a Mac 11?
It's like a miniature version of Uzi.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Highly accurate to about 3 feet.
That's classic. All right. So is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? I mean, just anything that you haven't talked about with the press, or just your musings about what's going on with you? You can say it, man.
You wanted to talk about my wife?
Absolutely.
I'll just put that out. And now I'm not sure. This is just my opinion I'm putting out there. But my wife, she was a recovering alcoholic when this started. And when we got the first denial letter, that's when she started back down the path. And ultimately, that's what killed her.
Oh man, I'm so sorry, Paul.
So it was just, and I look back at it. My youngest son was 11. My other son was 13 when we got started. And oldest one's 19 and the other one's going on 18. My wife's gone. And it's just kind of makes you wonder who's going to be there when the victory finally comes.
Well, we'll be there for you, brother.
It's going to be bittersweet. So, Dad passed, I think, like 9 months after Paula did. So
it's just you and your boy, and that's it.
That's it.
What about family from Australia? Is there, tell us about that?
I've got my brother over there in Australia, and we still keep in contact, and my other brother as well. He's over there, and my mom, and we chat. But it's one of those things. If this had been taken care of when it started, which it should have been, I could have gone back and visited my dad. I wouldn't have lost time with my boys. And it's just, you don't want to move or do anything. You can't go on vacation because you're trying to save your money.
Yeah.
I was left stateless, so I couldn't even be deported back to Australia. So if I did get deported, don't know where I'm going to go, or even if I can speak the language.
Holy crap. Well, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen, man. You're a Marine, dude. So I just don't understand why you don't have the Commandant of the Marine Corps, right now, right here, trying to handle this for you. That's what pisses me off. Why do I have to be doing this? Not that I don't want to, but why isn't the Commandant of the Marine Corps coming to your aid? You're you're the embodiment of what it means to be an American. You're the embodiment of that. Sacrifice, courage, meritorious promotion. Being a Marine, it's like the most difficult, physically and mentally, most difficult branch of the military, bar none there is. Yeah, there's high-speed units like SEALs or Rangers, but being a Marine, man, I mean, any average person on the street can spot a Marine like that by our bearing and our discipline. I'm so proud of you, dude, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help you. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience about what's been going on with you? Or, you want us to send some flowers to your wife's memorial? I mean, just tell us what you want, man.
I'm good at the moment. It's just, like I said, I'm just waiting for the court date so we can end this. That's what I want. It's been way too long. And I mean, even when it is finally over, I got to start learning how to live again. I've got to start learning, go vacation with my boy. And it's so much that I wish I could have taught them, going out, hunting, fishing, doing all the great outdoors stuff, but can't get a fishing license, can't get a hunting license. So,
well, most of the people in my sidebar would say that you don't have to get one anyways. Because we just believe that, your rights come from your creator, because that's what the Bill of Rights and the Constitution says. But that'll be a conversation we have on another day once we get you secured. So the primary goal here, guys, is to get Paul secured so he can be here with his son and be able to get an ID, being able to get a job, a license, a bank account, all the things that he can't do because what's his crime? Voting, apparently, after he got out of the Marine Corps. And then beyond that, just, I guess, overstaying the visa and then joining, that caused some kind of a rift. Is that a fair statement, Paul?
I don't really understand that beginning part. So,
yeah, I'm trying to understand it too. I don't get it. It sounds like you were here waiting for paperwork. You ended up getting recruited into the Marine Corps, but your tourist visa expired or something. And it seems like that's where this all started. It seems like that's the nexus of the problem. But I know that with other families, like, for example, military families, if a dude marries an illegal alien in the Marines or whatever, and then he gets injured, even though she overstayed her visa, because if you overstay your visa, I guess that's the problem. even if you get married, I guess you still have to go back home and stay in your home country for as long as you stayed in the host country. I think that's what the rule is. I don't know. At least that's what it was a few years ago. And so the only way around that is if you're disabled and the illegal alien is your caretaker. So there is an exception, but in this case, you're not your wife's caretaker, and you wouldn't be able to be anyways because of all the stress the government has caused her to where she's not with us. And so everybody, rest in peace to your wife. What was her name, by the way?
Paula.
Paula. Everybody give a bunch of ones to Paula and pour one out if you do drink.
But I will say, I had to marry a girl named Paula because I'm a Marine, and they'd ask me, well, what's your wife's name? And be like, Paula. Paula? Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's great. That is freaking hilarious, man. Well, at least you kept your sense of humor. I've always appreciated that about Australians. They're just a tough breed of people. So you got that going for you, man. We grew up on Paul Hogan movies, so put a shrimp on the babby for you, even though it's a prawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking at the comments in the sidebar. So they're all giving you a bunch of ones, giving you a bunch of support. Look, man, I'd love to have you back on again just to talk about what's going on. Maybe have your son come on and talk about what's going on with him. But what's important is that we stay together as one, just like Maximus says in Gladiator, because you are a Marine and there are people out there who do care about you, dude. And most of the people in my sidebar are not Marines, but they really do appreciate me, and they know that I've donated and invested a lot of time to try to teach them, because I don't want them to get arrested when they're doing the cop watch videos and all that. I want them to stay out of jail, because I appreciate holding the government accountable, but I think you have to do it in such a way to where you don't draw too much attention to yourself, because we know that the far radicals that are controlling this country want to paint anybody who supports freedom and the Bill of Rights as a crazy person. So I really, really teach, be civil, be kind, be courteous, considerate, and kind in everything that you do. Control your patience, have good manners. Even if they treat you bad, treat them nicer back like Jesus would do. Turn the other cheek if you have to. Don't ever let them treat you like you're the aggressor, because that's what they want. They're trying to get you upset. They're trying to anger you to make you look like the aggressor. So as a lawyer, that's what I like to teach my audience, because in the Marine Corps, they teach us to be an offensive fighting force. We see injustice, we automatically want to attack, but we can't. We have to let them attack us. So we have to invite the attack, and we have to fight back from that point of view. So everybody, I want you guys to understand, I don't have a GoFundMe for Paul. I'm not going to set one up because I'm a lawyer, and that would give the appearance of impropriety if I was raising money for a guy that I don't even represent. But Paul is a Marine brother, so that means in the Marine Corps community, he's a blood brother. He's one of us. And so I'm going to ask all of you guys to stay in touch on my channel with me. I'll have some information within the next few days about how we can try to help Paul just to survive. And then I also want to talk about the special bill some more with you, Paul, because I've already reached out to several congressmen and senators, and I'm expecting the people in my sidebar to do the same thing. And all you have to do, guys, when you reach out to your congressman or senator, email them a link to this video and just let them watch this. I mean, we're not asking for much. This is a nonpartisan thing here. We just need somebody to look after this family. He deserves it far more than any of the 20 million illegals who snuck across the border or were invited here by non-governmental organizations who have an axe to grind with our Constitution. I think that anybody who's willing to sacrifice their life for this country deserves automatic citizenship upon discharge. Give me a bunch of ones in the sidebar if you agree. Now, do you have anything else you want to say, Paul? Because if not, I'll go ahead and call it an evening, man.
Well, thank you for the invite, sir, and much appreciated. And thank you to all your listeners.
All right. So with that being said, guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Semper Fi, do or die. Okay, so we're offline now, mate. I'll be in touch with you in the next few